look out. Here come former SportsCenter anchor Bob Stevens, esteemed basketball coach Rich Basirico, and Hall of Fame sports writer Curry Kirkpatrick. And someone's going under the bus.
Let's throw Rich under the bus right off the bat because he's not here. That was easy enough. Justin Jarrett is joining us in Rich's place. We are, of course, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks, a great seafood restaurant on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. If you're ever down on the island, go by and visit Hudson's on the Docks and look for them online at hudsonsonthedocks.com. Check out the menu. Great place to go. Life is all about timing, and certainly our podcast last night, which is much like life, was certainly all about the timing. We had technical issues and ended up not doing the podcast last night, which is good because Justin and I, while we were setting it up and having some issues with it, were throwing the New York Knicks under the bus, and it turned out we were throwing the wrong team under the bus. Knicks
we were razzing.
Boom.
Curry was trying to figure out how to get online, and
now
I wasn't going to throw him under the bus. But.
Yeah, I got from under the bus just in time for tonight. So we're doing this Tuesday night, and we have some culprits under the bus right out the box last night. The two first round games. All hail the Knicks, who were down 20, came from behind to win in overtime. But the Celtics shot 60, and they missed 45. Yeah. So they missed 45 threes. That means they left 135 points out on the court. 135 points they left out. I mean, if you do it like that, they're the world champions. Does Joe Musuli, whatever his name is, does he have a plan B? Do the Celtics have a plan B if they're missing threes?
Well, we know what Rich would be saying if he were here. Stop shooting threes. You're not making them tonight. Stop shooting the threes.
Except if they make two more of them, of the 45 that they missed, they just make two of them, they win the game.
True. Yeah, that's true. Unbelievable.
Well, and, Jason Tatum is one of the great players in the league. And I still don't understand him jacking up threes when he can blow by any wing in the league. He can get to the basket, seems to me, anytime he wants. And how he just keeps jacking them up rather than go to the basket, it's just bizarre.
They were doing that in the first half. I mean, Jason Tatum was just blowing by everybody, scoring whenever he wanted to, driving for layups and dunks and everything else. And then they got complacent with the threes. And it's been, three of the four road teams won in game one. And that amazes me because I thought I think everybody else thought that the home teams, looked pretty solid to go. There was no question that these were teams that were probably going to go into the conference finals, and now all of a sudden they've given back home court advantage. Weird.
Well, and we go to that, Justin. We go to that Western first round game, Denver at Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City was in control of that game the whole time. It seemed. They were up 5, up 8, and Denver kept hanging in, and Jokic kept playing bully ball down low and keeping them in the game. And then they have that amazing last 2 minutes. And, when, what's his name, misses the 2 free throws for Oklahoma City, that opened the door for Aaron last second shot that won the game. It was an amazing turnaround in the last 2 minutes, I thought.
Curry, Jokic goes 43 points and like 22 boards.
Yeah. He just every night and he does it so, he can't jump, he can't run, and he's still the best player in the world. How do you explain that?
It is confounding, certainly, and he's more interested in is it carriage racing that he's obsessed with, like in the off season.
It's that horse buggy. That's the buggy horses. What do they call it? He used to call it
carriage racing, but
harness racing.
Harness racing, yes.
Harness, that's right.
He's
Harness
obsessed
racing.
with it
Racing.
and
Yeah.
does it
Yeah.
all in the off season. But no, it was a wild night for those NBA games. Both of them just completely flipped in the
I
fourth
thought
quarter.
the Oklahoma City team really showed some nerves at the end. You know, they're really
Mhm.
young, and their coach, you know, they started fouling and to get to save time, but they didn't even let Denver get across midcourt on one play,
Right.
and they fouled before. You know, they fouled left too much time a couple times, and
You've got to
just
make
showed some.
them get across half court at some point, you know.
Yeah, they just showed some inexperience. And
Yeah.
I guess, you know, back to the Knicks, nobody, you know, none of the experts are picking the Knicks to win another game, even with that spectacular finish that they. I mean, I don't know, you know.
I was gonna say, do
Yeah.
the better seeds still win these series, or do you anybody see an upset?
I don't.
I don't know. I wouldn't count out. I certainly wouldn't count out the Knicks. I'm not counting them out of this thing at all. And I don't know about Denver either. I mean, that team has a championship pedigree. I wouldn't count either of them out. I think both these are going to be, battles. I don't think either one's going to go quickly.
Well, I root
Indiana
for.
probably the most
I'm
underrated.
going to count out the Knicks, and I root for Denver because I love the city and had some
I
connections with
can't.
the team.
They're owned by Cronkies, and I can't. I don't get down with Cronkies.
Well, that's true. They also, but you know, you know, they also fired the coach three games from the end of the season. So this guy,
yeah, bananas.
David Edelman. By the way, have you taken a look at this guy? I mean, he looks like a 14-year-old kid trying to figure out how to work his hair. He's got some hair coming front and the back. It's the worst haircut in American sports. But he seems to be, you know, he's been the assistant there 5 or 6 years, and the players have all
You're
said
not kidding.
they're used to him and it's nothing new. And I mean, what a job if they keep going, right?
Justin. Yeah,
I'm working on it. Oh man,
it's
rough.
amazing. You know,
Oh.
the Oklahoma City coach and the Cleveland coach and the Detroit coach were the three finalists for Coach of the Year. This guy's coached 4 games, and now he's just 3 wins away from a conference final and a huge
I'm
huge
trying
upset.
to find a good
So,
one that I can.
I still
pull
think
up
that
here.
I still would take
Oh, here we
the
go.
better seeds in all 4 series. I mean, that's why you play 7 games. Usually somebody makes a mistake. And boy, that is.
Look at this. Look at this
You
haircut.
know, he looks like Curry. He looks like the kid from Mad Magazine.
Yeah, that's right. Alfred E. Newman. Alfred
Yeah.
E. Newman. What me worry?
What me
Me
worry?
worry? The TNT guys are gonna eventually get that picture up there, I'm sure. Oh my God,
man, yeah, that's rough. That's
Alfred
that's
E.
a rough
Newman.
look.
Listen, you know what? My thought of watching these games on the weekend, you know, both Saturday and Sunday, the NHL and the NBA had game 7s on each night, and
Right.
what astounded me was the difference in the drama and the excitement. The hockey had it all over the basketball. I mean, we had 2 blowouts. Of course, the Clippers mailed it in their game 7 as usual. And then the other game 7 was a blowout as well. At the end, you know, Golden State pulled away from Houston. Meanwhile, the 2 hockey games, I don't know if you watched it,
Oh my god.
but I was kind of watching
they were
Bob
terrific.
picture in picture. I'm kind of watching both.
The
And
Blues
you know, the game
was.
yeah.
Are you
Blues-
a Blues fan, Curry? I know you have
Well,
St. Louis
yeah,
roots.
yeah, but they give up a goal with
I'm not
1
a hockey
second to
fan
go.
per se, but I still call myself a Blues fan. For a period, I loved when I lived in Columbia. I watched every Blues game religiously. And
Well,
then
I love
I
the playoffs.
moved
I don't
here.
watch hockey all
I do
year long
too.
until the playoffs, but the
That was
playoffs are
a
spectacular.
devastating loss for the Blues.
And not only that, the night before, Mikko Rantanen, the Finnish guy who was traded from Colorado to Carolina, and then Carolina didn't want to pay him, so they got rid of him to Dallas. And he goes into game 7 and gets a hat trick in the 3rd period of game 7.
Yeah.
And then he gets another assist to get 4 points. I mean, I guess it was done once before in history, but it was an amazing performance by that guy.
Yeah,
Talk about a revenge tour. I mean, Mikko Rattanen got back. And the handshake line. He's hugging all these teammates that he was just teammates with like a couple months ago. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And then the next night, of course, the Blues give up a goal with 1 second to go and lose in overtime.
Well, and it was worse than that. They were up 3-1, and they gave up an empty netter, and then they gave up another empty netter with a second and a half or whatever on the clock, and then still almost won. I mean, they still went double overtime. They had chances to win. The poor goalie stood on his head in overtime after giving up the one at the last second. But what a heartbreaking way for me to try to be invested in the Blues again. Yeesh, not sure I'm going back there.
Never mind. Turn it off.
Yeah, throw the Blues under the bus.
I'm still pulling for any Canadian team in the hockey. I would love to see Winnipeg and Edmonton and Toronto are still in, and Winnipeg comes out of death. They were the President's Cup winner, and they were done, and then they get back in it, and it
was going to be a great ironic twist, because the first time the Blues broke my heart, it was when they were the President's Trophy winner and they lost in the first round to Owen Nolan and Mike Ricci and the San Jose Sharks, which was quickly followed by a strike. And then I moved to South Carolina and never thought about hockey again for quite some time.
Well, it seems like a lot of Americans, old-time American hockey fans, root for Toronto if they're going to root for any Canadian team, because one of the original teams, and they've been down so long, they've been playing great so far. Got the first round behind them, and then played great in the first game the other night, and got way ahead of Florida, and then held on to win. But I want to go back to basketball. I don't want to let a guy get away with the end of the season without going once more under the bus. JJ Redick did not have a great end. Did not have a great end of the season. After he played all 5 guys in Game 4, and they had a presser right before Game 5. I don't know if you saw that, and a guy asked him, what were you doing? Did you not get some assistance from your assistants? Because mostly, the guy implied that JJ was too.
Might be in over his head, or out over his skis.
And Redick blew up and stormed out, and he's kind of acting like he did at Duke, which made him a hated villain constantly through his 4 years. But he's acting like that. Then of course they lose Game 5, and he hates his centers, so he doesn't play either of his centers, and the guy from Minnesota, Rudy Gobert, gets 24 points or 27 points and 24 rebounds. It's like a Wilt Chamberlain, because he's not playing against any centers. Because Redick, I don't get it. I think then the next day, his postseason presser, he starts to call out his team guys who weren't in shape. Of course, he's talking about Fat Luka. I mean, he's calling out Fat Luka right there. But how do you, if your guys weren't in shape, why are you playing them 24 minutes?
Right. Like, I don't know. That was confounding.
He did not have a great ending to his first season.
No, he didn't. And I also have another guy that needs a repeat offender who needs to go under the bus. A lot of people got really excited about Playoff Jimmy for a minute, but Playoff Jimmy, he's going to burn it down in Golden State soon enough.
You think so?
I just can't trust him. We'll
see.
About Playoff Jimmy?
Let's talk about the one coach that we have never thrown under the bus yet, I don't think, in the short career of this show. Greg Popovich. We're going to talk about him when we come back. Under the Bus is brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. Welcome back onto the bus. Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick. Justin Jarrett is our executive producer. He is in for Rich Basirico, who is out. I want to talk to Rich about this next week when he's back and get into more of the coaching genius of Greg Popovich. But we do need to mention that he has decided to retire from coaching. He's actually just moving upstairs to be, right, I believe, the president or general manager. He's still running the show. He was before, he still is. And what an amazing career from a guy with the background that he had, which was, very modest, I think, to say the least, as he got into coaching. Pedigree-wise, he didn't have it, but boy, what a terrific, 5 championships, and his coaching tree. Justin and I were talking about this before we didn't go on last night, and I read somewhere where he has 3 degrees of separation from every other coach in the league. That's right. That's the coaching tree with Popovich. Everybody, insane. Every other coach is within 3 degrees of Popovich. That's pretty.
I found that piece. It's by Ben Rohrbach in Yahoo, from Yahoo Sports.
Okay.
But yeah, he's got a whole rundown of 3 degrees of Greg
Curry,
Popovich.
you've been around an awful lot of great
that connects
coaches.
The entire NBA.
Yeah, Curry, you've been around a lot of great coaches.
I have a little bit different after we give all the hosannas to Popovich. Of course, I go right to the negative side. I have a little different outlook because I remember he, to me, is almost like an accidental tourist. His career is almost an accident. He was, I think he was at the Air Force Academy. Right. As I'm not sure he's a player, he's a coach there. And of course, he's from the Larry Brown tree himself. He was an assistant to Larry Brown at, I think they were both at Kansas originally, but he was upstairs in the San Antonio team when they were doing very badly. And the next year they were going to get, they tanked the season to get David Robinson.
Right.
I mean, he's Popovich the all-time tanker because he tanked the season to get David Robinson. He tanked another season to get Tim Duncan. But when he tanked for David Robinson, he fired the coach, whose name was Bob Hill, the coach of San Antonio at the time, who was a friend of his. And I'm told, he fired him out of the blue so he could coach the next year when David Robinson came in. And I remember hearing back then that it wasn't a very popular move around the league, that they thought he kind of had stabbed Bob Hill in the back, because Bob Hill is a very popular guy. But at any rate, then Popovich went on this huge run, with Robinson and Duncan managing Ginobili. He got the kid from the guard from France who came out of nowhere.
Tony Parker.
Tony Parker. And he also didn't he also in the later years here, he's invented load management or whatever. Is that what they call guys getting hurt and sitting out or whatever?
Yeah. He did that.
He invented that, which isn't a very popular thing among fans when they go to the game and they can't see the stars play. We have to give that to Pop as well. I don't know. Also go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say it is curious because his methods are a little bit unorthodox, and yet they managed to get things done. Maybe the best tribute I saw to him was from Steve Kerr, who was one of his players, then an assistant coach, then went on to obviously do the things that he has done. Kerr got to play for Pop and for Phil Jackson. And it's interesting how he has taken from those two guys, both very eclectic, very not by the regular coaching book kind of guys, and yet has had the success that he had. So the coaching tree works, I guess, with Pop. The front office people that were with the Spurs now run about half the teams in the league. So it has somehow all worked out. And yet, as you mentioned, he's he's not always been popular except with the players.
Yeah. Well, the players, of course, his players love him. Of course, he had. I'm kind of surprised. I think he had this stroke this past year, and I guess it's really cut him down because I'm sure he wanted to stay around to coach Wembanyama for a couple of years, and now that's not going to happen. And I don't know his successor at all. Does anybody know who that is? He's coached the team this year.
Yeah, it's Mitch Johnson.
Mitch Johnson, who I have no idea who that is.
Yeah,
but
I don't know much about him. He's a young guy.
I think the one thing Popovich did do,
38.
I mean, he went to San Antonio, which is an outpost. And you think of the NBA, of all these great cities around the country, and there's San Antonio sitting down there, and Greg Popovich single-handedly, he brought in these great players, made these great teams. And he made San Antonio a popular place in the NBA and in sports. I mean, nobody ever heard nothing else is going on there.
But to me, Curry, but to me, Curry, that's the magic of the success of the NBA is picking cities where you're the only game in town. The Phoenix Suns were the only team in Phoenix for a long time.
Right.
Portland, Sacramento, San Antonio. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said Sacramento as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's interesting that the NBA has had a lot of great success. They were a great success in Seattle until Seattle got other teams. It's interesting how the NBA has made that work when other leagues have needed maybe the help of having other teams in the cities and being major league and all of that. Curious stuff. There's nobody to throw under the bus for that.
What I'm saying though is, of all those cities, they have professional teams, but they certainly are not relevant every year the way the San Antonio Spurs have become.
Right.
I mean, not in the most recent years, but
except what San Antonio's done, and maybe that's part of the genius of Popovich is they're either contending or they're tanking.
Right.
Right. Yeah. They did it for Robinson. They did it for Duncan.
They did it for Wemby.
Wemby. Yeah.
Well, they may
still.
Well,
they
didn't intentionally do it for Duncan. I was reading about that because I was like, oh, did he really snap Bob Hill in the back? He kind of did because they started like 3-16, but Robinson was hurt. And then he fired Hill and made himself the coach. And then Robinson broke his foot and missed the rest of the season. So they were awful. And so then they got Duncan. So they didn't really tank for it.
Okay. I'll give them that.
They just had some bad luck. But yeah, having those two guys, as Rich would say, I think I could win a few games with those two guys in the middle.
Yeah.
So, but no, Pop's a legend for sure, and I'm glad he gets to go upstairs. It feels like Pat Riley a little bit, going upstairs, and now he gets to pull the strings and maybe nurse a young coach along and create another dynasty there. So,
all right. While we're still talking NBA, who do you like? Pick a team this week that is the team.
I have no idea.
Who's going to win this thing?
I have no clue.
I like the Nuggets to advance. I like the Nuggets to beat Oklahoma City and get to the next round. I don't know if they can, I think they can, get to the championship round. I always thought last year, they got upset in a game 7 at home against Minnesota. But I thought last year they were a team that could have beaten the Celtics in the finals. They had beaten the Celtics, I think, twice during the season, both times they played. And I thought they were the one team equipped to beat the Celtics in the championship, but they didn't get there because they blew the game at home against the Timberwolves.
Right, that's my team.
I'd like them back. I think this dwells with them, and I think this is part of their what they're doing this year.
Even with the nerdy coach,
I think Cleveland's in trouble. Cleveland's in trouble. They got 3 guys hurt now. They haven't had any injuries all season long. You get the playoff time.
Is that the game on behind you? Are they on behind you?
I've actually got the Guardians on behind me, but
because they were winning at halftime tonight.
Okay,
yeah,
but they're
I like Minnesota. I like Minnesota. I think Ant-Man's on a mission. He seemed to be really inspired to try to show up LeBron and
Yeah,
Luca, and I
yeah.
think he's going to
Yeah,
be
now
inspired to try to keep this thing rolling. I think he's pretty special.
and now he's got his eyes on Curry and eliminating him.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
There
I
you go.
think he's trying to play assassin right now. He wants to take
Yeah.
some guys out and
And
kind
it
of
is
take
and it
over.
is and it is a great nickname, the Ant-Man. I mean, how
Yeah,
wonderful.
it's wonderful. He's so fun to watch.
You
And then
love-
Gobert. I mean, Gobert's fun to watch too. And they call him the
Yeah.
Stifle Tower, which is great.
Stifle Tower. That's one of the great nicknames
yeah.
also.
Yeah,
That's
that's a good one. That's a good one.
All right, pick
so
the
I like
team on their
Minnesota.
nickname. When we come back, I got a couple of people I specifically will never throw under the bus, and then we'll talk about some other stuff. We
I want to do
plenty of
I
stuff
want to
to
do a
talk
Kentucky Derby when we come back.
about. We'll do
Okay.
that too. When we come back
All right.
and we're going to throw a horse under the bus. We'll see. Stay with us. Under the
No,
bus,
He
brought to
might
you
run
by
off the road.
Hudson's on the Docks. Welcome back to Under the Bus. Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Justin Jarrett, who is in for Coach Rich Basirico. The one person I wanted to just throw out there that for sure not under the bus, but I wanted to maybe get into the psychology of it all with you, Curry. Katie Ledecky broke one of her own world records, the 800-meter freestyle. Now, she's been doing this for a long time. How do you get better when you get older in swimming? How do they not eventually, you peak and then you come down and maybe you still win, but the number isn't there. She's still setting world records. How do you do that?
She may try it again in Los Angeles too. She hasn't put that out of the question.
I hope so.
And it's amazing the races she runs. Of course, I mean she swims are so long, and her practices and her conditioning must be just awesome. This girl, and she keeps on going, as you say. Seems to be getting better as she gets older. I don't. It's kind of freakish. I forgot one other thing that's kind of freakish in the NBA, and I thought you were going to bring it up when you talked about psychology. Is the Clippers James Harden Clippers, LA Clippers game 7s. He does this every year. He's been doing. You talk about Ledecky. It seems like James Harden has been choking in game 7s for that long. And it was just another, I mean, he shot 8 times in game 7, made two shots 8 times. This is one of the great players over the year. He's going to be an immediate Hall of Famer. He's one of the great players we've ever seen. And every time he gets in this situation, he chokes. I mean, you hate to use that word for a great player. But, it's a cliche, but you look up in the dictionary the word choke, and there's just a big beard there. Just a big picture of a beard.
I was going to say, you were friends with McEnroe. You know the word choke.
Well, I think what's his name? The Microsoft guy that owns the Clippers. Ballmer, Steve Ballmer. He should take some of his $1 He should take some of his zillions and hire a psychologist to talk to James Harden. I mean, it's got to be psychology. It's got to be his head. Yeah. It's got to be. How does
he's always had a 10-cent head, right? I mean, he's always been a crash out.
He was a crash out at Arizona State. If you go back to these, you go back to these guys' college careers, and they sort of show what's going to happen in the pros. Yeah. But Harden is too good. Harden is too good a player. I mean, it's all in his head. It's absolutely all in his head. So why doesn't Ballmer spend some money on some doctors and go get with this guy? I mean,
you gotta want to though, and I'm not sure James Harden wants to hear what he needs to hear.
Well, Maybe
I think there's a
so.
little narcissistic.
I'm sorry to go from
behavior there.
Ledecky to Harden, but
No,
whatever.
that's good though. But you
Ledecky's
just took
incredible.
the high and the low.
Ledecky's absolutely
Sure.
incredible. You wanted to talk. Well, we mentioned McEnroe. That a Family Circle Cup sweatshirt there, Curry?
It exactly. No, it
Yeah.
exactly is. It exactly is. How did you get that?
That's good.
Some about the
That's a good
from
looking
the
shirt.
70s. From the 70s
Yeah,
when
vintage.
Family Circle Cup was on Hilton Head Island. Okay. That's
Vintage.
before
But you
that's
wanted
before
to talk
Bob was even
Derby.
here.
Journalism loses again in the
Yeah,
Derby.
the Kentucky Derby. I was gonna, you say we can't throw a horse on it, but I mean, it's all our favorite journalism. We got to call him out for getting caught in the stretch by Sovereignty. It was a great race, a great finish, but he kind of died at the end. But Sovereignty just went right past him. At least journalism did beat publisher by a lot.
Yeah, thank goodness.
By
that was the one that mattered.
By about 10 links. I was glad to see that. But another of my favorites, of course, the internet darling was the horse Sandman, who I think I told you guys I used to have a beloved Cocker Spaniel named Sandman, so I was rooting for Sandman, and then I found out that his owner is one of these internet specialists, and they named him after Metallica's anthem. Nice. Which is Enter Sandman. Enter I didn't know that he was. Sandman, And I'm not a big Metallica guy, but at any rate,
I had to root for Sandman because he was a gray horse with good odds, which has always been where I've gone.
Yeah.
If you can give me a gray horse inside 10-1, Gato del Sol was my all-time Derby horse because I'd seen it win in Arkansas, and it was a gray horse and it had good numbers, but or good odds. But Enter Sandman didn't get it done.
Exit Sandman. He at the he made a pretty good rush at the end. There just were so many horses in front of him. I think he got caught and couldn't go anymore. I want to the fashion, of course, the Derby is such a place for high fashion, but the fashion faux pas of the day, apparently everybody was laughing. He became a laughing stock. Was Jason Worth. The World Series champion for the Phillies, who is a horse owner now. And we remember him. He came to the Derby last year as a part owner. His horse was Dornoch, who finished 10th. But then Dornoch won the Preakness for Jason Worth. So he has continued, and he did all these interviews, just loving horse racing, says the best game on earth now, and wants everybody to join in. And his horse this year was Flying Mohawk. And sure enough, Worth, in the days up the Derby, he's on the grounds offering tickets to the Derby to anyone who would get a Mohawk haircut right there on the grounds. He had some kind of barber with him to give people a Mohawk, or if they would dye their hair green. I mean, Jason Worth's crazy, but
and he showed up looking like this.
Yeah.
But that's what horse racing needs, I guess. Right now, it's a sport that's hurting, and except for 3 weekends a year, and obviously last weekend was one of them at the Kentucky Derby. And good look for Jason.
Well, Jason was handing out before the race. He was handing out these ball caps that said MHRGA, make horse racing great again. And he was, and then he was wearing. He and his wife were wearing these matching outfits. You saw that, and somebody said they look like they came from a fan fest for the movie Wicked.
That's a good one.
Somebody said he looked like a cross between a British gambler and Willy Wonka, and I guess
like he came from the goth club. Well, I've always been a casual horse racing guy, Triple Crown, and that's about it.
Yeah, I love the Triple
And to
Crown.
me, the mystique of the Triple Crown winner is the best part of it all. And we never get that anymore, and we won't this year. So
because he won't race in the
throwing the
Preakness.
owners of Sovereignty under the bus for making the decision.
Not at least giving it a shot.
It would be. I hate that.
Well, you know why they do that, though, is because
they all own all the horses together.
Well, it's such a short. It's 2 weeks, and they need more time. They need to move the Preakness back, and then move the Belmont back. And why not do that? I mean, it would save the. They're doing it for the horse's health. I think. And by the
I
way,
mean, I
that's
think
probably.
by the
But
way,
I did
unfortunately,
hear the other
flying.
day. I did
What's
hear the
that?
other day that there's a consortium, an ownership consortium that owns most of the horses that run in these big races
Hey,
jointly. So there is some sort of invitation for collusion, to maybe scratch a horse that might run the kind of race that would hamper your other horse that has a chance to win type deal. And so I'm just so suspicious of all things in horse racing at this point.
Bob just went to figure out what that word
Talk to the
was.
dog.
nope. I just the first time under the bus, I've thrown the dog under the bus.
Oh no.
For interrupting the show.
Well, it's
Curry,
interesting.
did you ever get sent to do a sidebar at the Derby? I'm in Sports Illustrated had the greatest horse racing writers, Bill Knack and people like that. But did you ever get to go do the Derby or one of the Triple Crown races?
We didn't cover. I don't think we covered the Kentucky Derby like we should have with sidebars and stuff, and stuff like that. We didn't. I guess it's because the public interest in it. I don't know. We just had one story, but we had these great writers, as you said, Bill, I knew very well, and went back a couple other guys way back before him. But I do have a quick Kentucky Derby story. I've never been to the Kentucky Derby, but one year I was working for ESPN doing TV pieces, and Rick Pitino had a horse in the Derby, and I got to go down to Churchill early in the week, and we did a piece on Rick, and I interviewed him, got up in the dawn and went to the horse track with him and did all this stuff. And I was going to get to stay there and go to the Kentucky Derby. And on Thursday, the ESPN magazine called me, and I was working for both TV and the magazine.
Right.
ESPN magazine called me and said they want me to go to Minnesota and do the first round of the NBA series between who cared, and I didn't care, and I was so mad, and I didn't get to stay and go to the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
I
had a number of chances to go to the Derby and never got to go either. I knew the guy who ran Churchill Downs. He had been promoted from Cleveland, and I knew the guy really well. And he said, "Yeah, come anytime you want." And schedules and whatever never worked out. And now, of course, he's not there, and whatever. But I would love. That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, it's such a great scene, and even the few days before Saturday, all the race fans that are going to go to the Derby are out there, and they're starting to wear their stuff and go crazy, and it's just a great scene. The whole thing.
For days.
Yeah. And they do have a great museum and a great, and it's right at the airport. So if you ever are going into Louisville, make it a point to go stop and at least see it, even if it's not Derby week. Any last under the
country, by the way,
going to the horse farms, going to the horse farms around Lexington and Louisville is also a treat. It's a terrific.
It's really an underrated part of the country as far as natural beauty goes. It's really a pretty place.
By the way, Flying Mohawk, alas, finished next to last. So hopefully Jason Worth will be back next year, though.
Maybe next year he'll come with one called Mendoza Line.
Yeah.
He was always above the Mendoza line, I think.
Oh yeah, he's a good hitter. It's just filthy looking. Looked like he needed a shower all the time.
Well, he still does. He's still got his hair down here. We saw that picture. Yeah.
Dirty look. He looks like he's cleaned up a little bit though. He doesn't look like he's covered in oil now.
Any last folks under the bus, Justin?
I just want to throw under the bus just this whole era of customer service. Curry, I think you had a good experience with Spectrum, but I went to pick up groceries last night, and it was quite the wild goose chase to find my groceries. And there was one person working. Customer service was closed because the customer service person had to babysit the self-checkout, which is really the only essential job left, right? Is the person who babysits the self-checkout. So your friend Curry Kirkpatrick, Mr. Tony Kornheiser, rants about these kinds of things at the top of the show frequently. I know all about his travails with customer service representatives. So give you a little taste of that tonight.
All right.
Good stuff. Curry,
Well,
anybody else?
No, I'm
Anything
done.
else?
I got horses. I got horse owners.
Hey, we got you through 40 minutes and the internet stayed up. That's fantastic in its,
way to go,
in its
Spectrum
own.
customer service.
Terrific.
Let's quit while we're ahead. We'll see you all next week. Rich will be back, I hope. For Justin, for Curry, and for myself, Bob Stevens, thanks so much for joining us. Brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. This has been Under the Bus.
Under the Bus is a production of the Lowco Media